Hey guys, welcome back to the Immigrant Unfiltered podcast. This is your host Hamza, and today we have a wonderful guest with us. Her name is Jihane Ait Samo. Did I get that right?
Ait Samo.
Ait Samo, sorry about that.
Thank you.
So Jihane Ait Samo is also a colleague, I guess, in the sense that she is also an immigrant who immigrated herself, right? Is that right?
I did.
Yeah, and we're gonna go into her story, and we're gonna talk about the struggles and the successes that she saw here, coming to the U.S., being the person that she is, the wonderful person that she is. I got to speak to her briefly before we aired this show, so I guess all the aha moments are gonna be caught live in front of you guys, and we're gonna really get to know her in this episode. So Jihan, first question I like to ask everyone is, who is the person behind the name? So if you were to like paint a picture, make a sculpture, sing a song, portray an animal, what would that look like? So who is Jihan?
I would say the best way to describe myself is resilient. Um, I've always been a visionary. I always known what I wanted in life. And even though I did not know where the future would hold for me, I always wanted to take that step to push forward. And I think that's why I'm an immigrant, because a lot of people hear immigrant and they think we don't have anything back home and we ride camels or we don't have any technology, but we actually do. We have great lives, but we push ourselves for more. And I would say that that's the best to describe me.
So resilience, very, I think a very strong mindset that is, because, a lot of people will use essentially the word resilient, and then at some point, especially people who are non-immigrants, will use the word resilient, and I think it speaks a different volume than it does to immigrants. I think we operate at maybe just resilient for us means something completely different, right? It's like all in,
Yes.
no time for anything else.
Yes.
This is kind of where things happen for us. So okay, you brought up something really interesting, which is people think that we have camels back home. Well, it's funny you say that, because a lot of my friends are actually now moving back home to Saudi, to Dubai, to parts of the Middle East, because those places are booming and they seem to be the next thing that is going to be the uproar in the world, and that's
That's
kind of
so
where
true.
that's kind of where the world is going. So that's so crazy.
Also, the social life is just unmatched,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
The social life.
Yeah, so I moved here from Dubai in 2013, and until today, the social life is unmatched. You cannot replicate the social life that you have back home to the life that you have here.
I
It's
know.
just so different.
For you to be successful here, you really cannot have like a healthy social life.
There's no balance.
There's really no balance.
And so, what does that look like? What does that entail? So, first, let's before we get into the work-life balance, let's talk about you pre-America. So, when did you move? How did that happen? What was the opportunity? What was missing that made you think about, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do this? And were you an American citizen prior to, or
No.
okay, let's talk about that. That's interesting.
Okay. Where do you want me to start? When I was a child?
No, I mean start. I would say start. America is the future, and you've kind of consciously made that decision, and now you wanna explore.
Okay. So my dream to come to America started when I was really, really young. I was about 5 years old. My eldest uncle immigrated first to the U.S. and he studied engineering. And he came back home, and every single time he would come home, he would bring me these amazing dresses that are unmatched. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at the sense of fashion. Look at these beautiful gifts that he keeps giving me, right? And I really just was curious about what America is about. So when I was about 11, I started watching movies, all the American movies, the Mean Girls, and I would sit in front of the mirror and just like try to match the way that they speak, the American English. And then I was like, okay, as soon as I finish, this is like the next move. As soon as I finish high school, it's the big like break. That's my next move. Then I became a teenager, and like any Arabic father, my dad was a little bit more not controlling, but I would say like he just cared so much about me and my well-being, and it was like very hard to like carve my own paths because of that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask him what that I need to do for me to gain a little bit of authority to be able to like pursue the life that I want. And he said, you have to get the best grade. if you're not on top of that chart, you're not gonna go to America. And I was like, okay, is that all? So here goes, started the like obsessive studying, just obsessive studying over and over. I didn't have like a normal teenage years. I just wanted to be the best, get that degree, so I could be able to move to the next step. And I did it. I did it. We got the call at like 5 a.m. They're like, "Oh, your daughter got the best grade. They just got posted." And it was like tears, and I was freaking out. Like, how am I gonna pursue this? Like, I'm gonna go and be by myself. And yeah, my dad couldn't understand that that was about to happen because I'm an only child and the only girl. How am I going to like move across the country? But he followed through with his promise, and
and and so somehow you made it. So how did you come here? What was the like?
I
What was the path?
I applied to. I always wanted to be a doctor, so um, I decided that I didn't want to do pre med, just regular pre med. So I was looking into some form of engineering that would allow me to be a medical doctor afterwards. And I came across biomedical engineering. I read a lot about it. My uncle was very helpful, and he helped guide me through schools and like just trying to explain to me the education system. And we found a really good program in Louisiana, pretty close to where he lives, so that my dad can have like a peace of
Sure.
mind.
Still needs those eyes.
Yeah, still need those eyes. A little bit of
Sure.
his touch in my life. And I applied and I got accepted. And then applied for the visa and got rejected. Cried so much. Then
So this was the F1 visa?
yes,
Okay.
the F1.
Yeah, which is a student visa.
It is a
Right.
student visa. And yes, after that, I applied again and got accepted.
And how quickly could you apply? Like, let's say it gets rejected, then do you have to wait, or can you apply right away? Or
I don't know right now, but this happened in 2015, and I applied the exact same day.
Okay.
So I went home, I cried it out, then I was like, Dad, let's go. And we did it, and then I had my meeting 1 week after that.
wow, that's fast.
It was pretty fast, yes.
Today, I mean, forget 1 week. Even sometimes
There's
1 year is
yeah.
like a problem.
It really is. Like right now, the sooner you can get like an interview is like 6-7 months.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So okay, so you get your F1. Now you're excited. You cried it out. That's in the past. You're coming to America, Louisiana.
Yes,
And-
Louisiana.
And you're going to study biomedical engineering.
Yes.
And so what were your expectations? How did that life
Oh
begin?
my
How did that
gosh.
journey begin?
When I tell you that the way that America sees us is the way that I saw America when I came to Louisiana. I thought there was going to be like bigger buildings
York.
and like exactly New York, and then I show up and like it's like what is happening? This is not even close to the city that I lived in back home. And so I had to navigate that. You can't walk anywhere. You have to have a car. And I'm 17. Like, what is happening? But I guess the hardest part, or like for me specifically, was I didn't want to let my dad down because he kind of like pushed through this barrier to allow me to come. So I wanted to do so well in school, right? And that first week, it was just confusing for me. I had to buy robots for my
Oh.
engineering classes. I had to like do all of these things that I'm not really used to back home. And so,
What about language? Was that a barrier at all or no?
see, those movies helped me out. They helped me out a lot. However, there's a southern accent. So in school, I didn't have a problem. However, if I wanted to go order something at a restaurant, it really, really was a problem. I couldn't really understand the thick southern accent in Louisiana.
Right.
So that took me a little bit of getting used to. I lost 10 pounds because I couldn't eat in the cafeteria. I didn't understand what people were saying. But in school, it was not that big of a deal.
Okay.
Yes.
So movies helped. You were able to like push through.
Yes, I did.
And now you're studying now you're studying engineering. You're buying all
Yes.
these robots. Uh, and of course you're doing your parents proud, which I think all immigrants sort of carry on their shoulders. It's very
That
important.
heavy,
It's very
yes.
important that we make our parents proud.
Of
I
course,
think
of
that's like
course.
number one
You see it
on
as a
certain lists.
sacrifice that they did, like
Right.
not just financially, but like emotionally, knowing that they're allowing their daughter or their son to be so far away, living with that fear of something that might happen to them. It's a sacrifice that the whole family kind of carries. So we don't take it lightly as immigrants, right?
And this was when this was now we're still in 2015,
Yes.
16. And you're right. Yeah, we definitely don't take this likely. I think it's something that all immigrants come built in with, right?
Yes.
And eventually, the
Yes.
plan is to bring our families here somehow.
Yes.
Ultimately, that is the ultimate
Ultimately,
goal. If your
yes.
family's outside, you want to bring everybody in somehow. So I totally get it. So okay, 2015, 16. Now you're adapting. You're learning, I guess. You're building these robots. What was that journey like? What was that education like? And what did it like result in?
So the first, I would say that the education system in Morocco prior to college is really intense.
Yeah.
So compared to students here, I was way advanced in math. I was way advanced in biology. The only probably the classes that were really hard for me to adapt to in the first few years were the English classes, like the writing and stuff. But the hardest year of my college experience was my junior year, and that was the year that my dad passed.
Oh, sorry
He,
to hear that.
um, yeah, thank you. Yes, it was so hard because it was so unexpected. I had to be in classes during the summer to be able to graduate on time and do something next. And you know how immigrant parents, they wouldn't allow me to know that he was sick. So it was kind of like a shock to me. But at the same time, the education system here just expected me to keep going.
Yeah.
So like even though I kind of like knocked all the doors and said, "Hey, like I have to leave to Morocco. I need to see my family and all of that," and they said no. You have to like basically take your exams before you leave. If you don't, then um, you're gonna have to repeat the semester basically or the quarter because it was like
Yeah.
yeah
The term.
yes. And so I was stuck here in the US for a month to be able to take my exams, then to travel to see my family. And let me tell you, that was like like that moment changed me completely in every single way. Um, from going from like, okay, I can explore this life knowing that I have a backbone to like being, oh, I am my backbone.
Right.
Now I have to take care of myself. Like I have to like be more vigilant with the choices that I make. Even when it comes to school, school seemed like it was like the end be all. All of a sudden, it's meaningless, right? So I would say that was the hardest year of my life. Um, but I graduated.
But you graduated.
I
Congrats.
did.
So that's
Thank
good.
you.
And I'm sure you got really good grades.
Yes, I did, and I worked jobs and to make enough money to apply for grad school.
That was once you graduated.
Yes, and I
So
mean before. So that senior year, because my dad passed in junior year. During my senior year, it was like the application starts, right? So you're not just taking 600 level classes, you're also thinking what's next, how can I like rebrand myself to be like attractive to all these like programs, right? And I applied to 17 colleges. Can you believe that? um, so when my dad passed, I thought maybe I should not be a doctor. I don't think I can handle telling all these people that their significant other,
yeah, their loved ones.
yes, something is going wrong or they're gonna pass, or I just did not think that I can handle it because I couldn't handle it myself.
Right.
Just seeing that every single day was just not good. It's gonna remind me constantly of the loss that I felt, right? So I started thinking what I wanted to do, and I came across this bridge between biology or so in biomedical engineering, I worked in a neuro lab. Basically, we were trying to understand Alzheimer patients and their brain structures. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm interested in. However, I want to do it in a way that does not really just affect sick or like people that have some type of sickness or abnormalities. So I came across this bridge between business and neurology and neuroscience, and I was like, this is interesting. So I applied to a marketing program to study neuromarketing, which is basically the study of the brain just from a consumer's perspective, not from a medical perspective. And here we are. I applied to 17 schools because I had an engineering background. And in a PhD program, thousands of people apply and only 2 people get
Right.
selected. So they would rather have somebody who has a marketing background or a neuroscience background. Um, but I didn't have that. So I kept applying and applying and applying and applying. And the way that I got into the programs that I got into was by just showing up. You know how like in Morocco, in back
Yeah.
home, I don't know if it's
Yeah, you just
similar.
show up.
You just show up. You're
Yeah.
just like, hey, hello, I read your research. I'm really a big fan. Could I please get into the program? And that's how I got into a couple of schools from the ones that I applied to.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit.
Yes.
Okay. And you said you got a job in your senior year.
Yes.
Now, from what I know, like getting a job for immigrants is not that easy. It's not like you just like decide that, hey, I want to get a job tomorrow and you get a job. I feel like there's more hurdles that immigrants have to jump just to get a job compared to like American people.
Okay. I agree with you. I agree with you. First of all, regular jobs are not allowed. So if you're an immigrant student,
What do you mean not allowed? Like,
if you're a student, it's illegal for you to work outside of campus.
okay.
So
So like if you want a waitering job or like
no, you cannot unless it is within the cafeteria in your school or within the food company that provides the food
Right.
for your school. You really cannot work in any other industry like outside of school. So your papers or your work papers have to be legally binding to the university for you to be legal.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you leave the country, you would not be able to come back. And it actually happened to one of my friends, and he couldn't graduate.
So what happened to him? Like
He was working with a friend. He was also an Arab immigrant, and he had a restaurant. And so my friend, he needed a job to kind of like sustain his lifestyle,
Right.
right, as a student. And he gave him a job and helped him out. And when he went back home, they wouldn't allow him to renew his visa to come back because
they found out
that yes,
that he was working,
that he was working.
and that's not allowed.
Yeah, it is not allowed. It's illegal.
Okay, so how does one get a job then?
So the way that I did it was I really got immersed in all international associations.
Okay.
I got immersed in the African Association, the Arabic Association, the Muslim Association. There is also an international association that just combines everybody. And that way you get to know so many people. You get to know professors, you get to know managers, you get to know people that just work in random offices in the university. And when I was looking for a job, I kind of just contacted all of these people, and I was like, "Hey, like I'm looking for a job. How do I go about this? How do I do it the right way?" And they were very, very, very helpful to me. Even if they couldn't offer me a job, they would point me to the right direction. So my first job on campus was in catering. I used to drive a truck for Aramark, which is the company that does the food in the university. And to see me, a tiny person driving a truck, was very funny.
Like,
I still
you're
cannot
talking
believe.
like probably like a delivery truck or
Yes, it is a delivery.
like they're like big trucks.
Yes, it is a big truck. Yes. So I would deliver like the props and the food for like a certain like event, like sports events, catering for the football team, the baseball team, and all of that within on campus.
So like are we talking about like FedEx style where you get in and then you unload and load the stuff and you drive like you do the whole thing?
Well, yeah, but it was a team. It was not
Okay,
like an.
okay.
I used to drive the truck sometimes, and that was mainly my job. But we had other bigger dudes that could
Okay,
like
okay,
lift.
got it. So you were the designated
Yeah,
driver, basically.
driver. Yes.
It's not like you had to like carry stuff on your back and like
No,
no.
no, I did not have to do that.
Okay, okay, got it, got it. Okay, so that's how you got your first job.
Yes.
What's the money like? Is that even enough to like?
Oh yeah. The money was not so much, but also the university that I chose had a really really good program, but the cost of living around and also the cost of the school is so low. And I encourage everybody who's like trying to come to the US or who's here and wants to pursue an education, do not be like, do not listen to all these people. Oh, Ivy League. Oh, this school is I don't know where, and I want to live in Miami. Please do not do that. It's not worth it. It's not worth going into debt. It's not worth like having student loans. Find a good program, a respectable program, maybe an R1 school or an R2 school, and choose somewhere that is small, that is affordable, where you can actually work and whatever money that you're making. I think I used to make in this one job, I used to make I think $9 or $10 per hour. And I think there was a limit on how much I could work in this job. So yeah, but it was enough. It was enough. For my living expenses in Louisiana.
Okay, well that's great. That's awesome. I mean, 9, $10 an hour, and you're telling me that you're probably working 2, 3 hours a day, maybe a little more than that.
It was more like in the weekends, so like it
Okay.
would be like 14 day shifts for the football team like
For the
football
event.
game or something or like some type of event. But yeah, it was not bad.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so, okay, I'm just digesting delivery truck. You know, you're driving this truck. Okay, from this truck, you're also studying.
I am.
And this is very early on. So then, where does that journey go?
As so slowly, I stopped working for the division of events because um, the more you go in school in not a PhD in the engineering program, the classes get harder and harder. Um, you have to put in more effort and more hours. So that job just couldn't. I couldn't maintain both,
Right.
and I was taking so many classes. So I transitioned to work at the coffee shop on campus, and I learned so much about coffee, which is actually one of my passions. I
I mean,
love coffee.
you're Middle Eastern.
North Africans really love
Yeah, I
coffee
mean,
too. Yeah,
coffee's part of the culture.
it really is. It really is. So I learned so much about coffee, and I worked there, I think, about a year. And then I got super close to my professors in the biomedical engineering department. And two professors offered me a job, a research job.
Okay.
So I started.
Do they need to like sponsor you as well at that point, or how does that work?
What
Or
do you
no?
mean by sponsor?
Like, I mean, immigration wise, from what I know, like when you come here as a student, you need like you need a way to like switch that student visa into something else. So how did that happen for you?
So they did not sponsor me. I don't think that could happen while you're still
Oh,
studying.
got it.
You have to have a degree and like you have to be like offered kind of like a full-time job to be able to do that. Also, even if you are offered the full-time job, you still have to put in 2 to 3 years before they can even think about sponsoring you.
Got it.
It's a very lengthy process, and they don't sponsor you right away for a green card. They might sponsor you for a B visa,
Right. Like an H1B
an
or
H1,
something.
yeah,
Yes.
visa, or and then if you're
From
good,
there.
if you're good, and they cannot live without you, basically they will sponsor you for a
Got
green
it.
card.
So then you got an offer. Would you say this is common for anybody coming from the outside listening to this? Would that be a good avenue to look into? Like talk to your professors. Maybe they can provide you with like work.
Yes, that's definitely. I would say it's all about networking. I feel like all of America is built on networking. You can get so many places if you just focus on human resources, just talking to people, being upfront with what you need and what you want.
Right.
And yeah, for me, it was I wanted to learn more about research because there was a very big chance that even if I wanted to become a doctor, I would have to know a lot about research and maybe at some point even write research papers.
Right.
And that makes better doctors, right? So I really wanted to learn about research. Also, I wanted to know what part of the body am I interested in. So these two professors had two separate like labs. One of them was about the heart and the other one was neuro. And I was offered a job and I was like, let me see. I worked first at the neuro lab and for just one semester. And then I worked a little bit in the other lab for I don't even think it was a semester. I mean a quarter. It was probably like a month. And then I transferred to a different lab to study on the Alzheimer's trial, and I really enjoyed that part. The pay was much higher than
There you go.
yes, it was much higher, and the type of work is not as intensive or like physical.
Right.
Yes,
So you ended up sticking to the Alzheimer's research.
yes,
And then I guess you continued on that path.
yes, I did. I stuck in the neuro lab. I enjoyed it more, and I kind of like. I worked a little bit in the business school as well
Okay.
in my senior year, but for the most part, I worked about a year and a half in the neuro lab, that specific neuro lab that
Okay.
studied Alzheimer's.
So talk to us about the business. What was that like?
So, to be honest, in my senior year, when I was telling you that I wanted to apply for a marketing PhD position, I kind of wanted to wiggle myself into the business school because I really did not have any people that I knew in the business like school.
Right.
So I started like studying more there, getting to know everybody, getting to know the dean, getting to know a lot of people. And one time I was talking to just a random worker. I really don't even know. I think she was the secretary of the dean or something like that. And she said, "You know, you're so delightful. There's a job that Mr. Daryl is offering, the IT department here in the business school." And I was like, "Really?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You know what? I'm going to go ask." And I went and I asked, and he was like, "Yeah, it's not going to be long hours. It's like 10 hours. And all you do is if a professor calls and there's a problem with the projector or computer, you can help out." And I was like, "Yeah, great. I
So
love that."
you troubleshoot.
Yes. And so I started doing that as well in parallel with
Okay.
the research.
Okay. So now walk us. When was this? What year was this?
This was 2018, 2019.
Okay, so pre-pandemic.
Yes.
Okay.
Barely pre-pandemic.
Now we're getting now we're getting somewhere.
Somewhere.
Okay, so let's talk about
Yes.
let's talk about that, and we're gonna get into the pandemic because you know the pandemic shaped us all,
Oh my
changed
gosh.
us, made
Oh
us all
my
different, you
gosh.
know, in very different ways. But okay, so you're pre-pandemic. It's 2018, 2019. Your research is going well. Is this the point where you start thinking PhD?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so what was that like? Because I know that the acceptance rate
Oh.
you mentioned is like crazy low. So how did that happen for you?
So, to be honest, there was like, it's much more stressful for an immigrant to be applying to grad school than it is for Americans. So all my American friends, they were very helpful. In my class, they were like, "Yeah, we're applying to the PhD program, master's program, and everything." And for us, it's like, "Oh, if I don't get accepted, I'm gonna get deported." So it's like the stakes are kind of higher,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. I never thought about that.
Yes. So you either have um, an active I-20, which is like the document that the university gives you, or you have to go home.
Okay, so you
Yes.
can't even study.
No.
Just
n-
go home.
Yeah, you have to get accepted by another school. So whatever it is, a master's program, a PhD, whatever it is, you have to be accepted. You have to have an active I-20.
So as immigrants, are you juggling that all the time? Are you like in the back of your mind, not only thinking about your education, but also thinking about, oh, I have to renew this, or I have this much time, and I have to do something?
Of course. You have to constantly think about the things that you need to have to be on good standing. You have to have more than 9 credit hours. You have to not drop any classes to be below that. You have to not work outside. You have to not work more than the limit. I'm not sure if it was 30 hours or
Right.
25 hours.
Yeah, but this feels like a whole separate headache that
Of
you have to like
course.
think about other
Of
than your
course.
education.
Of course, yes, it is another headache. And come senior year, everybody's like, I don't know what my passion is. I'm like, I need to stay here. So, yeah, I was, that's why I was very intensive in the way that I was applying. So I had to take the GRE and then figure out what schools I need to apply to and how can I position myself coming from an engineering background. Also dealing with the grief of
Right.
losing my dad. It was very very tough. However, I would say that I pushed myself to focus on what's next to kind of like deflect from thinking about the grief.
Right. And you couldn't even go back, so that in itself is so difficult.
Yes, it is
You
difficult.
have to deflect quite a lot, I would imagine, in that
Yes,
case.
I did. I did.
Yeah.
I did go back after I finished that semester. I did go back because I needed to be with my
Right.
family. But obviously, I couldn't stay longer than I'm supposed to. Only the break that they gave us, which was probably like 3 weeks, and I had to come back and start again.
Yeah. What's life with your family like back home? Like what is that life like?
Oh my gosh, Morocco is
Yeah, like
amazing. This is totally sponsored. I love Morocco. Life in Morocco is more chill, more happy, I guess, like and like bubbly in a
yeah.
way. Um, my family, the
I feel
dynamic,
like even the language is more bubbly. Like just the things that you can tell other people,
yeah,
more tongue in cheek. Like I feel like the English language lacks a lot of like that type of conversation.
deepness,
Yeah.
right? I agree. I agree. I feel like there's no matching Arabic, to be honest.
Right.
No matter what language do you speak. I speak French as well,
Right.
and it's just like it's no matching Arabic.
Right. There's but so what is that life like in Morocco? So you said it's chill, it's more
It's
bubbly.
yeah, it's more bubbly. It's chill. My
Because
family,
when we look at Morocco
yeah,
through the TV, it's like heaven, you know. And
it
I'm
really is.
assuming that's like the touristic parts.
Yeah,
Not all of it is like that,
yeah.
but like, is it really like that?
It really is like that. And let me just say, even if it does not look like heaven, the people make it heaven.
Right.
So like my mom is actually from where you see like Tangier. She's from
Yeah,
there.
Tangier, exactly.
Yes, and it's like the most touristic place in Morocco, right? It's nice. It looks nice. The lifestyle is amazing. There's wealth not just money wise, but like education wise and religion wise, everything. There's just a lot of wealth. And but my dad is from a different part. Is his family lived 20 minutes outside of Casablanca, and so that's where I grew up, like 20 minutes outside of Casablanca. And even though it does not look as glamorous as Tangier, but the people, the way that they carry themselves, the way that they carry like the struggles of life and all of that, it's like in a very bubbly, kind of like push forward type of mentality.
Positive vibes.
Yes, very positive vibes, very positive outlook
Well, that's
on
good.
life.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
Uh, I only bring this up because, I spent a lot of summers in Yemen with my family. Very similar,
Yeah.
the country is not wealthy by any means, but the people just, they're so full of love and, the language is so deep and everybody kind of
Yeah.
knows everybody. So, there's really not much
Yeah.
that you can get away with, let's just say.
Yeah.
At least for me when I was young, and I used to go visit my family in the summers. All right, well, that's good. So let's backtrack again. I got
You
distracted
love
by the
going back.
Morocco, but let's backtrack. So now we're pre-pandemic.
Yes.
You're continuing or you've applied for your
Yeah.
education. You have all these immigration things that you have to also
Yeah.
tackle at the same time. And then what happens?
Um, what happens? I get I get connected to this amazing professor, and I do walk into his office and I say, "Hey, like I'm really interested in pursuing the PhD program. Can you help me and stuff?"
Is it in the same school where you did your pre-PhD education, or is it a different school?
So I only I really did not want to stay in Louisiana, but I only contacted him because he was in my school, but he was getting another position in the University of Mississippi where I'm studying right now.
Okay.
So I thought it would be like really amazing. But like warning, I did not just speak to him. I spoke to other people. I even traveled here to Houston and went to and spoken to a couple of professors in the University of Houston.
U of H, yeah.
Yeah, so
You were all over the place.
I talk to everyone. But I did go and I spoke to him and we had this like point together. He loves France and he loves like the culture and stuff, so it was very easy to communicate with him. He asked me about my background and he comes also from an engineering background, a chemical engineering background, and he was like, "You're going to be great. If I'm great, you're going to be great." And I was like, "Great." And he was like, "Go and apply and contact this person in the admissions." And I did.
That's how it happened.
I did, and then everybody was getting accepted everywhere, right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna get accepted. This is like really bad. What am I gonna do?" And then they get back to me like late May, which is like way past time where people get like accepted. And they offered, they told me, "Well, we're gonna offer you a full scholarship, however, and a stipend. However, you have to take the GMAT." And I was like, "Okay, I'll take the GMAT." And I have to get this certain score. So I did that. I took it twice. Then I got the score that they needed. And yeah, by July, by June, I was accepted and I had all my papers.
You had all your papers.
Yes.
You know, it's funny you say that, and I just remembered this. I don't even know if you guys know this story, and you guys, I mean the guys who are watching this from in the office, is that my sister,
Yeah.
Iman, also came here as a student at the
Okay.
UH, and she applied right at the cutoff for her F1. Like she couldn't get in because, or she couldn't get the F1 because didn't have her. You know, there was a problem. And one day she came to me and she's like, "You know what? I have an issue. I can't get my visa because they didn't give me the admission. I can't pick my classes and all that." And I remembered at the time, the gym that I worked out at, the dean of admissions in U of H worked out with me. He was like my workout buddy.
Oh my gosh.
And he always kept saying, like, "Yeah, you know, admission." He always kept talking. I didn't understand what he kept saying, you know? And then I was like, "Hold on, wait, listen. My sister applied to your school. Can you help me?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm the guy."
I'm totally
And I'm like, "What do you mean you're the guy?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll just make a phone call." And believe it or not, I told my sister to get in touch with him. She calls him. Minutes later, gets all her classes racked up so that she can take care of her.
Take-
It was crazy, and I was like, "Bro, you're the guy, man. I didn't know this was a thing." And he's like, "Yeah, you know, sometimes we just push paper, and we have maybe people who are not so motivated to like do their job.
yeah,
So we have to like hover over them to kind of get it
to
done."
kind of get it done. That's so true.
Yeah.
But then again, this goes back to like the US is all based on human resources, like literally get
Right.
to know people.
Networking.
Yeah, just
The
network.
network is
Yes.
your net worth.
Yes.
That's what they say, right?
That's what they say.
All right. So, okay, pandemic. Let's talk about that. How did that shape your life? What did that do?
Okay.
How did that change you as a person, if at all?
Oh my gosh, it definitely changed me. If anybody came to you and they were like, one day everybody was wearing masks and you were walking and there was have to be space between, you'd be like, what trip are you on?
Right.
What psychedelic trip are you on? Because we never thought that our life is going to be the way it was. But let's say I was so motivated. I got to this PhD program. I have to prove myself. I have to like push through in my work so I can forget about the grief, right? And then the pandemic happens, and then we get trapped in our houses, and people started having panic attacks. I had two of my friends die. One of them committed suicide because she couldn't deal with being far away from people, and one of them died because of COVID, and that just was like the boost that like popped
The boost is like needle, guys.
needle, yeah,
Yes.
the needle that popped the whole situation, the straw that broke the camel's
Camel's
back.
back, yeah.
Yes, it was like, oh my gosh, all the grief is coming back. Oh my god, my dad passed, and all these people are gonna pass, and it was really really hard to get over. Like, I would say more than depression, it was just like this whole reflection scenario going in my mind. Am I doing the right thing? Am I happy? What am I doing? Is education even worth it? Should I go back and stay with my family? And like if something bad happens, I'm there. So all of these things,
Yeah, because
and
you're here alone, you're questioning everything at
yeah,
that
you
point.
are. You, especially like in during the pandemic, it's just you and your thoughts.
Right. I'm sure you were isolated.
Very isolated. Yeah, very isolated. I was in Mississippi, in Oxford, Mississippi, and all my family was far.
Right.
Yeah, my uncles were in Louisiana. My aunts were way, way further than that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, COVID changed everyone.
Yeah.
I sold my business before COVID, right
Oh,
before COVID.
wow.
It was a very fun time when we sold the business, but then during COVID, we were isolated, and I was jobless. Like, I was sitting at home and had nothing to
To
do.
do. Oh my
And I'm like,
gosh.
okay, I wake up every day, I put on my clothes, I'm like, okay, there's no work. It's like, where do I go? So I really felt like that pandemic time really changed me. And everybody we talked to on the show has had direct impact because of that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a big change.
Um, I when I started teaching right after right after COVID, like kind of right after we started going back to school, even though COVID was still there, and my students would come to me and they were like, "How important is this test in like the view of life right now? Like, look at where we are. Like, nothing matters. Even the education system is not as important as it was." And I really like failed to be able to answer them. Of course it doesn't matter, like people are dying, we don't know, but like you just have to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
How do you explain that to like teenagers?
Yeah. There's like a new virus that just came out that they just posted today that they had their
Really?
first death.
I have not heard about
It's like the chicken pox, not the chicken pox. It's like the chicken virus.
chicken virus.
It's also based out of China somewhere.
Oh my
They had their
gosh.
first death, but apparently it doesn't spread fast. So
Oh my god. I cannot redo
yeah,
that.
yeah, I know, right? Zara will figure out what the virus is in a second. But what's it called? Marba. It's the
Marva?
Marba virus. It's just today. It's
Wow.
brand new. Like
Wow.
yeah. And the weird thing is, if you want news, American outlets don't have news. You have to like go to Reuters. You have to go to like international outlets to
Wow.
figure out what is going on.
Yeah,
Because American outlets are very like American. They have American news.
that's so true.
So okay. So back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point now you're teaching.
Yes.
So walk us through that. How did that come to be?
Okay,
So is
so
this what you do now?
no, right now
Okay.
I'm only working on my dissertation. But in the PhD program, for them to be able to sponsor you and also give you a stipend,
Got it.
which is the ideal situation, right? Full ride and also a stipend, which does not allow you to think about anything else besides the PhD program, which you much needed because it's very intensive work.
Right.
Um, you are kind of required to kind of work if needed, if you're
Right.
needed. So if a professor needs help with the research, or if they need you to teach a class or whatever, you have to be there.
You have to be available.
Yes. So right after COVID, I started teaching. It was my first class. Yeah,
Okay.
in my second year.
Okay. And so now you're focused on your dissertation, but you're also focused on social media.
I am.
Because is that a result, so to speak, of the isolation that you took up, or what inspired you to like
Oh my gosh.
start your social media journey? Because a lot of people don't realize this, but that takes time to
It
like
really does.
away from things that you're actually doing, and
Yeah.
you're doing very intense things.
Yes. And I wish I could give more time to social media. So, in like my junior year, I met a few people in my university in Louisiana that were really interested in social media. They did YouTube very intensely, and they had very big followings. And so I just got introduced to the idea. Then I was asked to help with a couple of like content pieces and stuff, and I was like, this is interesting. This is so much fun. So that's where it started. I started very slow because, like I said, I was always focused on school because that seemed like the end be all. But I started posting different things about fashion, about different things. I just wanted to like kind of test it out. And so I was really interested in social media way before it became like the getaway for during
Yeah.
the pandemic.
During the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so then what do you post?
Well, back then I just posted really everything about my life, how I got here, if there is anybody that needs help with applying to universities, which I get a lot of questions, by the way.
From international
Yes,
people.
from international students.
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, people are curious. They really want to know, and a lot of people don't really know how to do it.
Even some Americans, especially when it comes to the PhD program, because
Mm.
they're not really familiar with how the PhD works. Especially when they hear that I don't have a master's, and there's like this like idea that if you don't have a master's, you can't get a PhD. But I feel like that's more of a back home kind of thing.
Yeah, like I didn't know that was a thing before I met you, by the way. I
Yeah.
didn't know that you could get your PhD without doing a master's
Oh
degree.
yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Like the master's is more of like an industry focused degree, and PhD is more like
Hmm.
academia focused and research
Yeah.
focused. So they really can do not intertwine unless you're studying medicine.
Right.
Yeah,
Unless you're studying to be a doctor,
a doctor or a
pharmacist. Got it.
pharmacist. Yes.
Got it. Okay. So, where were we? We were talking about.
Me teaching
Yes, you teaching. Let's talk about you teaching.
Yes.
Back to that. So you teaching was a part
of my
was an
program.
agreement, with your program so that you could get the stipend and
Yeah.
you get the full ride and all of that. Um, questions that you're getting, um, and you're answering. So you said that when you look at the bigger picture, how valuable is this test or how valuable,
Yeah.
and you're kind of lost. Is that because the American educational system is different, or is that because you have a different like perception now that you have had these experiences in your
Um,
life?
I don't think that in my eyes there was like any difference because I was still going with the PhD program. But like when my students came to me and they asked me the question of how relevant is this? Like maybe I'll die tomorrow with COVID and we don't know, we don't have any tests about this. And how relevant is this? Like, is this test going to be a very like big thing in my life? And I've been asked this question multiple times. I really did not know how to answer them.
And how old are these students who are asking you these questions?
Or like teens, early
Okay.
20s.
Yeah, so they're fairly young.
Yeah, they're fairly young.
They're at the age where they question everything.
Yes,
At
they
that point,
question
everything is a question.
Oh, of course. And the pandemic, like I said, it just put people in contact with their thoughts way too much.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We had too much time to
Too
ourselves.
much,
We need to
yes.
start getting busy. I think we've done a good job with getting busy now.
Yes.
Let me ask you this:
Mm-hmm.
does the economy impact you in any way with what you do?
Right now,
Yeah.
um, I would say yes, it does affect me. However, like, I'm still like in this narrow kind of like mindset because I'm just trying to finish my PhD. I'm just trying to submit that final project
Yeah.
and stuff. But occasionally, when like I see changes in gas and egg prices, this just seems like something is happening.
Okay. So, let's say, inshallah, your dissertation is complete. You do, you're fairly successful, and you get your PhD. What's next?
Well, I really want to follow social media full time.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a plot twist right there.
Yes.
Okay, let's explore that for a second. So, you've worked super hard.
I did.
You've achieved probably, like, forget about Americans. You've achieved probably 0.0001 of what immigrants. I probably know maybe one other immigrant in my entire network that has achieved this much academically so quickly. And that person went on to become a doctor, a cancer doctor. He works in research. Great job. But
Amazing.
but that's his dream. That's
Yeah.
what he wants. He wants to build a team. He wants to be on the cutting edge
Yes.
of research. You now want to pursue social media.
Yes.
Okay, that's where we met, by the way. So
Yes,
you're
that's where we
obviously
met.
doing it. It's
Yeah.
working. Okay, walk us through that.
Okay. By the way, I just want to say this that also as an immigrant, dating in America is hard. So keep in mind
Okay,
if you're
we're
coming.
gonna get back to that. Okay,
Yes.
that's another topic that we need to talk about.
But with social media, I just think that there's so much to explore and so much to achieve. Like for you as a successful businessman, why do you choose to do podcasts?
Right.
Why do you choose to like allow people to see who you are beyond the fact that you're just a successful business person, right?
Right.
Because you have the ability to rebrand yourself, and put yourself in these multifaceted kind of cube and like
Right.
deliver it to people. And that will help you not just with your business, with many things to come in the future.
Right. I just don't like talking to people face to face. I prefer them looking at me behind the screen.
Why not?
No, so me, okay, so this is very interesting. Okay, I'll give you my journey and my social. I had zero social media presence until 2021
One.
when TikTok was like brand new.
Brand.
It just came out. I remember I was talking to Admani, another guest on the podcast, who's a friend of mine, and me and him joined TikTok because of Gary Vee. Do you know Gary
Of
Vee?
course,
Yeah. So
yes.
Gary Vee came out and he started yelling. He's like,
Yeah.
"You guys need to
You
get on
have to do
TikTok.
TikTok, yeah.
You have to do TikTok. It's the fucking TikTok."
Yeah.
And we're like, "Okay, let's go do TikTok." And so I actually started doing dancing skits. So I started that, and I gained a huge following. And back then there weren't enough creators, so like we were getting followers so quickly, and it was so cool. And then I realized, you know what? I think I can monetize this. And so that's kind of my journey on social media, and that's kind of how I grew. And then of course I got Zara, and then we got this whole team together, and then we started posting. What would you post on social media? What do you have to say?
Okay, so I think that my perspective is very unique. I do have like what we just talked about, the immigrant story, and also the academic story. I went all the way in academia. What's next? Can you still follow other dreams, other passions? Yes, you can. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to share that journey post graduation, post doing all of that. I also want to share the dating advice because I really like resonate so much with that, because living in such rural areas like Louisiana and Mississippi, it's very, very hard to find that community. So I want to be able to help people that are also in the same boat as I was.
Situation.
Yes.
That's a lot. There's a lot of them like that. A lot
A
of them.
lot.
In
A lot
fact,
of people.
most people who come in similar circumstances.
Yes.
They end up
Yes.
being part of a school that's in they end up working in rural
Rural
areas.
areas, yes.
Then they end up getting married to someone back home.
Back home.
And bring them, once they get their city, all of that. So it's a
Yeah.
very, very common occurrence. And obviously your story is a little different because I think you met your significant other here.
I did.
Okay, you did?
I did.
And so walk us through that. So walk us through the dating, the difficulty, the meeting, the marriage.
Yeah. So up till I graduated from my bachelor's, I was not thinking marriage at all. I was like, yeah, let's just finish. Let's just do great things in life. And then I get to Mississippi, and all that support that I had in Louisiana evaporated. My family is far. The system that I built around myself in associations and all of that is also gone, because now in the PhD program you have so much to do. You just don't have time to like be a part of any associations or any other things.
Right.
So, and that's when I was like, okay, I guess I need a partner in life, right? And I started like little by little opening to the idea of courting and getting to know more Muslims and stuff. And it just seemed impossible. It just seemed impossible to find people like-minded, to find people that are interested in actual like halal ways, and it just seemed like it was an impossible puzzle, right? And most people around me, they would say, yeah, like we met through like
An app.
an app or networking. The app and the networking both did not work for me because I was so far
Right.
out.
Yeah,
And so
nobody wants to come to Mississippi.
yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about it like I wouldn't go to Mississippi for someone. You know what I mean?
I agree. I would not go to Mississippi for someone. But yeah, so and then I started coming more to visit my aunt in Dallas, and that's how I met my husband, through a mutual friend.
Okay, so you did it the old school way, mutual friend.
Old school way.
Do you have social media? No, okay. So full on old school. Sometimes that's the best way.
It is the best
You know,
way. I'll tell you that much.
I met my wife in college, sophomore. Well, we actually met freshman year,
That's amazing.
and then we like started dating sophomore
Yeah.
year. Nothing about my situation was halal, by the way. But we've been married.
No
for
judgment.
We've been married 20 years, and we're super happily married, and we have 2 kids, and
Yeah.
and life goes on. companionship, I think, is extremely important.
It is really important.
After a certain point in life, you realize that you need a companion. Specifically, and more, in your case, I guess it's because you are literally alone. Your family's back home.
Yeah.
And so I can see how that's important.
It is.
I also saw that you kind of documented that journey on your social media as well.
Yes, I did. I talked about it like constantly, and I wanted to reach out to other girls and see if they're also going through issues. And I found out that even people in bigger cities like Houston and New York and all of these big cities, Chicago, they're having the exact same problem. I'm not sure about what is happening. Is there like a break in between how girls communicate and guys
No,
communicate?
it's just the app culture.
Yes, or the app culture, but nobody's like straightforward anymore.
It's the app culture, 100%.
Yes.
Like I feel bad for the youngins that we have here, because the app culture is just it's very difficult. Guys are looking for app culture type products. And a lot of girls are giving into that.
That's true.
And so they're just getting used to it.
And then all of a sudden, all the people that want serious and long-term goals, they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I get DMs from people all over the U.S. talking about the exact same thing. Or here, this is what happened to me. What is your advice?
Is that what motivated you to become an advocate and talk about this?
Yes, of course. Mainly because I felt the pain of being stuck or like not knowing what else to do, especially when you don't have any help here or community. And also because so many people reached out to me and I made so many connections based on that. Just being able to vent it out with somebody who really understands where you're coming from.
Right. I also feel like people here, sometimes they're too rigid in their own ways. They don't want to give up certain things or blend and become one, so to speak. They're like, well, you know what? We tried. It didn't work out.
It didn't work out.
I'm set in
Next.
my ways. Yes, exactly.
Swipe left.
Swipe left. I know there's a bunch of Muslim apps that people use now, and I think I've met quite a few people who have heard success stories from through the dating apps. I don't know what they're called.
I can name.
Yeah. Because what are they called?
Well, I'm familiar with 3: Salams, Muzmatch, and Baklava or something.
Okay, baklava.
Yeah, I
Like
think
the
so.
dessert.
I think so. Yeah, like the cookie.
Yeah, like the dessert. I don't know if that app is a marriage friendly app. I don't, just by the name of it. But app culture is a real thing. People are getting more and more zoned into that short term. Either it's endorphins or they want like a boost of like, I don't know, whichever hormone it is. And then that's it, they're done, and then it's like, okay, move on to the next. Everything's good, cameras cooled down, so we're excited. So where were we? We were talking about apps. You mentioned there were 3 apps. One of them was called Baklava. I don't know if that's an app that we want to use or we want to promote to the youth. But I am familiar with Salams. Actually, Salams had a huge marketing campaign on social media.
They really did, especially on TikTok and Instagram.
And they use quite a few Muslim
TikTokers and influencers
to boost the app. I think that's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
I think what they did was pretty smart with the app.
Yes, it was really, really smart. And I think they sponsored some type of event that everybody went to, and that was very smart.
Right. I think I do remember that. There was a conference for like matchmaking and something, and they were in that.
Are you familiar with what is it called? Mass ICNA?
I am, yes.
Okay, it's a Muslim convention.
Right.
And like
it's huge. It's massive.
It's really massive. But always they have some type of like halal dating like event or like mingling
towards the
type.
end.
Yes.
Yeah. Speed dating, sort of get to know someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys who've been to that, and they all complain. And they all complain about that the girls are either looking for doctors, lawyers, like they can smell, and don't take this the wrong way, but apparently, and this is not through me because obviously I'm married, but like they're like they can smell like somebody who is like
eager for specific
financially superior, and so they don't even look at like other people who are maybe good people.
Yeah.
Is that the case, you think?
To be honest, I hope the girls do not get mad at me. Please do not get mad at me. But I've heard some unrealistic expectations for
Such
sure.
as?
like 100K mahr and a house and like when did that become like the metric that we like
Right.
look at?
Mahar.
Like what about the potential?
Right.
What about religion? What about love and
Right.
compatibility and the way that we want to raise our kids and support?
Yeah, that's way more important. Also, I got married when I was 23.
Yeah.
If 100K was meher, there's no way I would be
There's no
married.
way that you
Yeah,
can.
I wouldn't be able to get married.
Exactly.
Just, that's the reality. My meher was probably like 5,000 dirhams,
Yeah.
and that's what it was. And
And if she did not see the potential
Yeah.
through what you guys had back then, she would not like
right,
live through right now your success and like you
Exactly.
being like the successful business
exactly.
man.
So, what is a reasonable meher? Because I don't even know in terms like I'm just trying to figure out what that like. Is there a number or is there a standard in America?
I really don't think that there is a number, but I think that when I was getting to get married and I was speaking to my family about like the idea of a possibility of me getting married, they said that probably like the father or should look at the guy's income and kind of like based on that kind of give him a number, right? So maybe 2 month worth of what he makes
Okay.
per year or 3.
And that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Because I see all these TikTokers and they're all talking about 25,000 or 30,000 or 50,000, and I think and these are kids. Like you're talking, they're in their early 20s. I don't think it's realistic for people to look at TikTokers and decide, okay, that's what my meher is going to be.
Yes.
Is that right, Zara? What do you think?
I think people are idealizing it.
They're
Yes.
idealizing it.
Being
I think that's
realistic.
exactly I think that's exactly what she was saying.
Let me add to that. I think that like this whole culture, not specific to to the Muslim culture, but I see this culture of like I just want to be in my feminine energy, and I want my husband to be able to provide the earth and the sky, and like I want to be able to just like right off the bat like live this $1 million like life. And to be honest, that's like not realistic. Like
Especially now.
yes, you can marry somebody who's rich. What about tomorrow if there's inflation, which we're looking at it right now?
Or they lose money. People lose money
You
all the
lose
time.
money all the time. So what is going to happen then?
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
right. Then divorce.
The divorce. Yeah, next. That's not a way to look at relationships,
Right.
right? But it's being idolized, like she said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. So expectations are unreal. Conferences happen. Do you think enough happens in this country to really put people together?
Well, I really, really appreciate the initiative that Muzmatch and Salams have been putting. I'm not really familiar with the third app, but I've used Salams and Muzmatch, and I have seen constant like growth in both.
Okay.
Was I successful? I wasn't. I think my mentality was very different than everybody that I've met, and I was unable to like really form a genuine connection. But I've heard success stories, and I have friends that have success stories from these apps, especially the people that are ready for marriage. Like if, of course, a lot of people use it for wrong intentions.
Right.
However, for the people that are ready for marriage, it kind of like helps out.
It does.
Yes.
I'm just trying to imagine what life was like before the apps. Like, let's say there's a situation where nobody knows anybody. They land in this country. How do they meet? Like, how much work do you have to put in to go and meet someone, right?
So, fun fact: one of my friends, I actually was a photographer in her small wedding. She met her husband through the sheikh of like the masjid. So, you go to the sheikh and you say, "Hey, like I'm really interested in the next step. Like, can you help me out?" And obviously, the sheikh has like relationship with everybody, the
Right.
men and the women in the community, the Muslim community, and he was able to connect them, and
yeah.
that worked.
Like an in-house matrimonial service.
Literally.
But look, as an individual who has paired people together, myself,
Okay.
I have learned that you have to be very careful because sometimes things don't work out the way you thought they would. People, people seem like they're one thing, and then you pair them together, and then 6 months later you find out, hey,
Yeah.
it's just not, not the right thing sometimes, and
Yeah.
and there's no way to really I don't think there's a way to foresee that in any way.
I don't think there's a way at all. Especially like even if you know people for 20 years, you don't really truly know them. There's probably a side that you've never seen, and you only could see if you live with them, which is that person that you match them with will actually see. And so you help and you put like forward your peaceful and like positive intentions, and you let God take the wheel, right?
So what's marriage been like for you?
um
How long have you been married, first of all?
We got married legally in August and Islamically in October.
So like last year, October.
Yes.
So you've been married Islamically, for a few months.
Yes.
Okay. And what's that journey like? You're still in the honeymoon phase, is what I would say.
But to be honest, it still feels like we're like just engaged because we don't live together yet.
Okay.
I live in Mississippi to finish my PhD, and he lives in Dallas. We go back and forth, but it's like kind of a glorified dating situation.
Right. And the reason I ask that is, personally for me, I would say the first couple of years were probably the hardest years of my marriage, right? And this is me and my wife were dating for 5 to 7 years prior to that.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were like full on dating, and then we got married. And still, it was like, I would say the first 2 to 3 years were very difficult.
Wow.
To get
Yeah.
everything. Because, I feel like with our cultures, you're not just marrying the person, you're marrying the entire
family.
the entire tribe.
Yes.
It's more than a family.
Yeah.
And so that adds a layer of complication, I think, within our cultures. Is that something that you foresee? Is that something that you think you will go through?
Of course, I foresee a lot of challenges, and but I'm excited. To be honest, I'm excited to do that with him. I think God made me wait for a reason, and me and him only like known each other for like a month and a half before we got engaged.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's fast. He's like, I'm not letting her get away.
He really did. He really said that. He really said the exact same thing. He was like, I'm gonna make you my wife.
Look, sometimes you know when you know. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It doesn't matter.
That is true. And the first day that his family visited my family, it was just like this harmony.
Yeah.
Like you would not believe. Like we're Moroccan, they're Palestinian, but there was just beautiful harmony. Everything went smooth. The communication was amazing. Like, and that just set precedence to what was going to happen in this relationship. It was all just positive. Like everything is a communication. Everything is an open door, and that's how it's been going. Despite the challenges, of course, we have to learn to know how to communicate right and efficiently, and navigate the stress of my school and his job and all of these things. But so far, smooth sailing.
That's good. Alhamdulillah. Very good.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm really happy for you guys.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit more about social media. So
Okay.
you've accomplished wild academic success.
Thank you.
Now it's time to make money. It's time to like kind of take care of finances. It's time to do all that.
Yes.
You want to do social media. Is that something that you see yourself doing full time, or is that something that you do alongside something else?
So I decided to take social media seriously and like really, really give it a chance in the beginning of the pandemic, and like everybody else, even though I had the idea way prior, but I never truly and fully gave it my attention. I always had this, you know what? Let me finish this before I focus on this. Like, let me just this one next step. Let me just finish this one class, or teach this one class, or finish this one project, or whatever it is. It was always let me just. And so I think that once I have the degree, the PhD degree, I can always come back and work in academia. I can always come back at 50 and be a professor if I want to, a researcher if I want to. I feel like that dream will never like cease to end just because I want to do something different. However, I feel like right now I want to give it my full attention, see how far I can go, knowing that I have the knowledge and I have the charisma, and I have the passion for
And you
it.
have the story. I mean,
And
what
I
a
have
great
the story.
'Cause look,
Great.
I would say your story is probably 50% of the journey, you know, because that's what
Yes. Mm-hmm.
people tune in for. They're like, oh, cool. We feel like we have an attachment. We know her story, and now we want to listen to what she has,
Yes.
you know. And so you have an amazing story,
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
right?
Yes.
And so okay, you're gonna do it full time. How does that provide, or what does that provide?
Well, so my plan, and I don't think we've ever discussed this with anybody
Well,
except
there you
with
go.
me and him. Yeah, but my plan is after I graduate. Oh, well, I'm moving to Dallas very soon in May, and I want to take this year from the beginning of May, even though I'm not going to be graduated by then, but I want to take from the beginning of May till next May to give it my all to social media.
Like a gap year.
Yes, I want to give everything that I can. Obviously, my goal is to monetize it, but that does not come before providing value. So I'm going to give my all, trying to provide value to everybody who's listening out there, and trying to rebrand myself and allow people to look into my life and to my journey, maybe even like connect to my journey. And then hopefully we'll get to monetize.
Okay. So, you know, because we have a few people that we brought on as guests that have monetized, that are wildly successful.
Yes.
And they make money just from social media. You know, they have brand deals, they have sponsorships, they have people who throw money
That's
at them.
amazing.
And the first thing they'll tell you is that no 2 months are the same. So
That's
1 month
true.
you could be making, you know, you could be balling, as they would say, like you'd be making crazy amount. Next month you're on zero. And this is just the life that they've signed up for. Have you looked into that side of social media?
I actually have, but let me tell you, let me ask you, even as a businessman, did you have 2 months alike in your early days?
Stages? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think as an entrepreneur, you are always walking on a very
Yes.
fine line, you know, and no 2 days are alike. So not only 2 months. If we are not seeing, you know, things moving around or changing in
Yes.
days, we have to constantly pivot and adjust.
That's exactly. I see the risk. I'm willing to take it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It is worth it. I'm definitely an entrepreneur in mind, and the life that I want to lead is also entrepreneurial in the way I see it. There's the easy path. The easy path is to get a job and be static.
Yeah, but I think you have that in your back pocket, so that's your security right now.
Exactly. Like if you can always come back to that. You can always apply to any job and like push forward and abide by the laws and get that minimal and sustainable income. But can you achieve greatness on that? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think building a personal brand is really what it's all about
Yes.
in today's world. You
It
build a
is.
personal brand, everybody somehow or everything that needs to be attracted to you somehow gets attracted to
Yeah.
you, finds its way to you.
I agree.
Rather than you going and, you know, taking 1,000 meetings, now all these meetings come to you.
Come to you. True.
Yeah, that's why my office is 2 minutes from my house. You know, the funny thing is when I ran my business and I ran it like really hard, we had about 50 employees that worked for me at the time. We had an office in the Galleria in Houston, and we needed to be in the Galleria because we had all these meetings and moving parts and, you know, in the company. After social media, 95% of my business is remote. And if people want to come and meet me, they usually just come and meet me in my office. They're like, "Oh, where are you at? We'll drive out," you know, whatever
Yeah.
that is. And so social media is so magnetic and so vital and so important that I actually preach to people who are becoming CEOs: focus less on your business, focus more on being a good CEO on social media.
Yes.
Because that will bring you everything you've ever wanted. Like, I think as a job description in the future, in like the next 5 to 10 years, you're actually going to see must be able
To
to
do social media.
deliver content, you know, correctly on
And
social media.
it's already happening.
Right.
I was looking into like industry, like jobs, because it's my last year, so everybody's looking at jobs, and a lot of them require you knowledge about social media.
Right. So they're getting
Yes, it's already there.
ready. Yeah.
As a senior or as an entry level, it doesn't matter. You need to learn and know how to navigate social media and monetize it when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, because, you know, entry level, I would say everybody's well versed in social
Yes.
media. People, you know, talk about their experiences in the company, in the business,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But leadership,
Yeah.
that's going to be a thing. everyone's gonna have to be like a mini Elon Musk
That's true.
somewhere, and that's gonna contribute to the success of the business and to the success of the individual.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Who are you without marketing? Like,
Yeah.
that's the truth.
There's no personal branding.
Literally, yeah. What do you do? All these questions just pop up if we don't know who you are, if we don't have a clear vision of who you are and what you're doing here.
Yeah. How often do you post, and on what platforms?
So recently I have not been posting much because I'm trying to push through. And also we have been looking for an apartment, and that was very, very hard. We want to live downtown Dallas, so it has been very, very hard. But I have not been posting, but I'm really, really interested in Instagram and TikTok. And I feel like I feel like more connected to the people that are on TikTok.
Yeah. TikTok likes more like organic
Organic,
content.
yes.
Do you think TikTok's getting banned?
I really don't think that it's getting banned.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion, but I do like the initiative that TikTok is making to kind of like help the controversial conversation about how they're using our information and how they're offering an American staff to deal with that part of the information. So I don't think it's gonna ban. Hopefully, it doesn't get banned.
Yeah. I know,
Yeah.
because that's where everybody gets the most
Yeah.
organic traffic, right?
That's true.
So we have actually started preparing for the ban. Well, we don't know if it's going to get banned.
Of
Like,
course.
in all honesty, I don't think anybody at this point really knows.
Ye-
It's too early. But if it does get banned, I don't see all the TikTokers going back to YouTube, and I don't see them going back to Instagram. There's going to have to be some type of a new app that comes out that then everybody else jumps on.
You don't think that like YouTube Shorts make up for?
So, I have two kids. My son is 10, my son is 12, and my daughter is 11. And I ask them, I sit down and I have these conversations with them all the time. That, hey guys, look, they just got TikTok. My son just got TikTok like a year ago. My daughter just got TikTok like 2 months ago. And they have the parental controls and all that. So I sit down and have conversations with them because they're the future, right?
Yeah.
So when YouTube Shorts was not a thing, my son was on YouTube Shorts. And I was like, what are you doing on YouTube all the time? He's like, Dad, I'm on YouTube Shorts.
Shorts, yeah.
And so I was like, oh, we need to start posting more on YouTube Shorts because that's where all the content is going. It
Yeah.
wasn't Instagram. And now when I look at them, I'm like, okay, what happens if TikTok gets banned? And they're like, oh, we don't know. It's not like, oh, we'll go back to YouTube Shorts. It's like, oh, we don't know. That means they're looking for, or they're going to be looking
For something new.
for something new. And there's a bunch of new apps that have started to trend. Every time TikTok ban comes up, they start to trend.
Yeah.
And people jump on them, and celebrities jump on them and whatnot. But as a content creator, we really, honestly, don't really have control over where the people are going, and we just want our content to be seen. So we've already started prepping. Like, there's this app. What's it called? The app, Zara? Lemonade.
Lemonade, yeah.
And then there's another app, Clapper. There's these two apps that we've jumped on. I don't know if we're going to see any success. I don't even know if TikTok's going to get banned, but
Yeah.
we're just pushing content out there.
I saw a content creator decide to post all of his TikToks on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
And this guy jumped from zero subscribers to millions in like a span of 2 weeks.
And how recent was this?
Very recent. Like,
Really?
yeah, right before the conversation with TikTok.
Well, you were surrounded by these YouTuber, with following. So
Yeah.
like you could see, you actually have a more maybe direct
View.
connection.
Yeah. I mean, I think that besides that, I've always been a fan of YouTube, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I feel like still till today, TikTok cannot match like the monetization on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes. But the exposure that you get from TikTok is also unmatched.
Correct. I
Yeah.
mean, in all honesty, whenever I meet someone who knows me or anything, and I always ask them, like, where'd you see me? It's TikTok. 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, you're that guy from TikTok.
TikTok,
who
yeah.
talks about warehouses, So yeah, TikTok is kind of where the reach is, and it's where all the people,
All the people are,
You
yeah.
know, in the beginning, I remember when I was on TikTok, everybody was like, oh, it's just kids. They're just dancing. What are you doing on TikTok? And now all of a sudden, they're all on TikTok.
Educational, yeah, stuff, yeah.
and it's just really crazy how quickly it's growing and becoming a thing.
Are you interested in YouTube at all?
Yeah, so I actually have long form content on YouTube. This podcast goes on YouTube as well, so we have a channel for that. And then we do post shorts, right, Zara? We do post shorts, yeah. So we have shorts as well that we do.
Do they match like your TikTok success?
Yeah, no. Okay,
The
she's saying
views?
no. I don't know.
No.
She's saying I don't know. I thought they do. I thought I do fairly well. No, we don't.
No, we
we don't do well on YouTube. It's just more saturated. Less people want to
Yeah.
learn about warehouses.
Oh.
That's probably what it is. But the thing is, for me, I niche down. I niche down a lot, and my followers are literally people. Like, imagine somebody following somebody else to learn about warehouses. Like, you know. So
Yeah.
my followers are die-hard real estate people who want to learn how to make money.
Yeah.
They've been burned, or they want to diversify, or whatever it is.
And
So-
it does not even make like 5% of the population,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. So
And
the
it's a
views
very
are,
small, it's a very small percentage of
Yeah.
the population.
I had the same problem when I was, there was a time during my social media journey where I just was focused on educational information.
Content.
Yeah. And it was the slowest
Right.
months.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, yeah, people, they could get fascinated and stuff, but they don't care enough to follow you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And that's kind of what we do. I think all we do is educational. And we do a little bit of vloggy stuff here and there, but it's primarily all educational stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun times. For me right now, it's primarily just to have fun. I'm not really looking for, anything.
Yeah.
I have everything I need. Business runs, and it's going to continue to run. You get to a point where it's like, okay, now how do I have fun
Yeah.
in life? And so this is kind of what that looks like. And I think what you are going for is very similar from that May to May time point, because you've put in, I think, so much effort into life
Yes.
in general, where you're like, okay, you know what can I do? And then we'll worry about everything else later.
Yes, I agree. I feel like also like sometimes the traditional path like pulls us so much that we kind of dissociate from the things that we love,
Yeah.
and it's good to go back to those things.
So speaking about that, does your family know any of this TikTok or social media stuff
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah.
aspiration?
Mhm.
And what do they think of it?
Well, I think that my family is supportive in nature, and they're all business minded. So like everybody, even like the engineers in our family, they don't use their engineering degrees or
Right.
any of that. So they just know that at some point I'm gonna have a business,
So
right?
they get it.
Yes. My mom, however, is like, what? You should be a professor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to remember when I told my mom. I had already told my. She didn't really. She was like, yeah, just do whatever you want at this point.
Your success speaks volume, right?
Well, it was really good talking to you. By the way,
Same
you're
here.
a pro. I can't wait for you to start your own podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really
and
appreciate it.
hear what you have to say. I'm sure you're gonna kill it. You're absolutely
Oh
gonna
my
kill it. It
gosh,
was
thank
really
you.
good. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for
Thank you
listening.
for having me. Thank you for everyone.
yeah.
Really, an amazing team.
It was good having you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.